All right, everybody, on behalf of Professional Title, I want to welcome you guys to how to tell your clients that it's the most wonderful time of the year to sell their home. We want to get you talking to sellers today. And I know that title is a mouthful, but it will be worth it. I promise. On behalf of Professional Title, Kent couldn't make it today from the Claremont area, so I am covering for him. And we, of course, have Cindy here for the whole rest of the world, Volusia, Flagler, and everywhere else that she is. So thank you guys for jumping on. I am passionate about this topic, and you are going to see me get fiery about this one. This is the fifth time I've taught this already today because I'm a crazy person. But I think this is such an important topic, and I think real estate agents in general, I'm not saying anyone that's on this call, but in general, I honestly think that we let sellers off the hook too easy when they give us one of their nonsense scripts about why they are not ready to sell. And I honestly believe that we, kind of take an oath or a signing or whatever the heck you want to call it to uphold our fiduciary responsibility to our clients. And I believe that when we let them off the hook for selling their house this time of the year, that we are doing them a disservice. And I don't say that to be mean or to be rude or to be harsh, but I honestly believe that. And I think that's going to come out in this class today, and you'll see why I feel that way. And we've all been there, and we've all let people off the hook for this, and we all will continue to do so because we don't want to fight or become too salesy or too pushy. But I really like this topic, and I hope you guys leave, with some action and some strategy around this, because it is the best time of the year to sell their home. And I honestly believe that there is a chance that right now, the next 60 days might be the best time ever in the history of the United States to sell a house. And it might be that way moving forward for some of us for the rest of the time that we're alive. So I like this topic a lot. I'm going to give you 8 strategies or 8 things, 8 reasons why, or 8 things to say to your sellers about why it is the most wonderful time of the year to sell their house. And the whole theme of this, we go off holidays and Christmas, and Carrie did an awesome job with the retro holiday slides to make this fun because I wanted to, make it fun. But I really think this is a serious topic that we need to focus on and not just half butt this one. So what I ask is, if you're on here today and you're playing, play all in. And when you leave here, I want you to go take some action on this one, because I think it could change your financial perspective on the beginning of your next year for sure. And I really think you could seriously help someone with having some tough conversations. I'm a big believer in trust begins with honesty, or trust starts with honesty. And a lot of times I think salespeople are scared to have an honest conversation with someone because they think it's going to sound salesy, or because it's tough, or because it's fierce. And I think people miss out on doing a good job in sales because of that. And having a tough or a fierce conversation with someone is not always a bad thing, right? A lot of times the best things come out of those. There's a course out there, I can't think of the lady's name, but that she teaches this course. I think it's now fully on Zoom, and it's just called Fierce Conversations. Took it a couple of years ago. It's fantastic. I'll find it tonight and put it in the Facebook group. But yeah, anyway. All right. So most of you guys I know. Those of you that I don't, my name's Ryan McHugh. I work with Cindy and Kent at Professional Title. And for our parent company, Fidelity National, I get to travel the state and train and help real estate agents grow their business. I come from the sales side of real estate, so I'm not one of the trainers that is telling you how to do something that I've never done before. I helped run the #1 team in the state of Florida. We closed between 40 and 50 transactions a month, 3 years in a row. And then I ran what at the time was the largest real estate office in Florida in every category: units and agents and listings and buyers and contracts and all that fun stuff. So I come from the sales side of this, and I really am passionate about helping realtors grow their business. This is your first time joining us. Every Monday at 12, we do a Zoom. That's a free topic for you to grow your business. And pretty much actually every month, I'm in all of your markets in person at least once a month. I'm doing in-person workshops as well. So what is good is that this week I'm actually in everybody on this call's market. So Wednesday, Cindy, where are we Wednesday? I know we're like everywhere, but can you just pop on and tell them where we are so I don't mess it up?
Yep. Wednesday morning, we'll be at Spring Hill Suites from 8:30 to 11:30 with the Plan 22. It's being hosted by Coldwell Banker and Vision, but it is open to everyone to attend. They welcome all. And that's, again, at the Spring Hill Suites Marriott. And then in the afternoon, we will be at the Daytona Regional Chamber of Commerce from 1 to 4.
Awesome. And both of those sessions are all business planning for next year. If you haven't done a written business plan with me yet, you need to be at one or both of those. And if you have even done it already, we've been doing these for 2 months now. If you have even done it and you don't feel like yours is sharp enough, come. And then we're doing that same class Wednesday in Claremont. Kent couldn't make it on, but if you reach out to him, he'll give you the address. But we're doing the same thing Wednesday morning in Claremont as well. So if you're on this call and you don't have a business plan, there is no excuse for you not to get one done this week. There's 3 options for you to do it in 3 different cities, all across the areas that we serve. So looking forward to seeing you guys in person at one of those. You can reach out to me, Cindy, or Kent after this class, and we'll get you to either one of them. And if you can't make the one that's in your area, you're welcome to come to the one that's out of the area, because this is probably the last time I teach this before the end of the year, and I want to make sure you guys get it. All right, let's dive in to this now. Let's talk about why it's the most wonderful time of the year to sell your home. Most of you guys have heard all 3 of these before, or are about to hear these if you take action after this call, maybe have even said them yourself to some of your clients. And these 3 limiting belief statements, or these 3 objections, are what's holding you back from starting 2022 the best you ever have. And it's also what's holding your seller back from possibly the financial freedom, or hopefully not, but maybe down the line, the financial ruin that they didn't know was coming. And we, as real estate agents, I'm not saying anyone in specific, and I've done it too, so no judgment, but as real estate agents, we let these 3 statements dictate our seller's financial future and our financial income for the next 60 or 90 days because of statements that are 6 or 7 or 8 words long, right? It's insanity. And when I think about how hard we work as realtors to just blow it and let it go on the last 25 days that we have left of the year is insane, right? We're in a stressful business. And of course, this time of the year and COVID and all the other crap that's going on in the world multiplies that. And if we are going to let, 6 or 8 or 10 word statements dictate our income, we're in the wrong business. And I want to help you guys change that today. I'm really serious about making this thing work. Often people say whoever is out scripted loses, and this goes with anything in sales. But I want you to think of this every time you go on a listing appointment, whether it's this time of the year or not, whoever is out scripted is the loser. And here's what I mean. Let's say you go on a listing appointment, everything goes well, and the seller ends with, I want to wait until the new year. If you say, okay, I'll check in with you on January 3rd when everybody else starts working again, and then leave, they outscripted you and you lose. The seller wins, right? They get to keep their reasons. They get to keep the results. They get to keep everything. And they go back to living their life like normal for the next 30 days. But you're the loser. Not only do you not get the listing, you take the risk that you might lose it, but you also take the risk on losing out on that income. Because guess what? If you got in there today, Monday the 6th, and someone beat you with one of these scripts, and someone like me got in there on the 7th, you're losing. And you're losing that income. And I promise you're losing that income. And I don't mean that to sound vicious, but that's how it is, right? If you lose a listing on the 6th because you're going to wait until the next month on the 3rd, you're giving yourself 28 days to be beaten. And that's not good. And I don't want you guys to leave this call beaten ever again. I want you to leave this call at this time of the year empowered to be able to go out there and take more listings than you've ever taken, because right now is the most wonderful time of the year to sell a house, period. And yes, it's fun because it goes with the Christmas Carol song thing and the slides and everything looks pretty this time of year and whatever. But I really believe that we cannot let these stupid statements beat us anymore. And I'm determined today to make sure that you don't. So reason number one why it's the best time of year to sell the house ever, really, is because we have the lowest supply ever. And all of you know this, right? If you haven't been living under a rock for the last 2 years, you know this. But I really want to just put a couple things into perspective. First of all, every year, no matter what, from Thanksgiving until a couple days into January is the time of the year where the lowest inventory is on the market, the lowest number of deals are done. That's just how it is. It's the holiday season because people say these 3 things. And as realtors, we just say, okay, and we let them win. And I get it. It's a tough situation. It's a tough conversation. We've all been there. I understand, but we can't do that anymore. Mix that on top of the fact that 2021 has given us the craziest year ever of inventory ever in the history of real estate since they started tracking this. And we have the perfect storm, right? It's the hardest time ever for buyers, but it's the best time ever for sellers. And if we are going to let a couple of little statements beat us, we're missing out. So think about how 2021 has left us with the lowest inventory in the history of real estate. I get to, work and travel all over the state. I'm very fortunate and lucky to do what I do. When I look around and I look at inventory and study these numbers because I'm a nerd, pretty much everywhere in the state that we service, which is like Panhandle to the Keys, like everywhere. If you're in Florida, we probably service your area. The average days on market in most markets is under 45 days. In mine, it's under 38 days where I live. And some of yours, I know it might even be less, right? There's areas where it's less. If you don't know what that means or how they measure it, inventory is measured in a stat called months of inventory, which means if the MLS stopped MLSing today and they said, you are no longer allowed to sell houses, and they just cut it off, months of inventory or days of inventory is how long it would take for all the houses that are available to be sold out and people not be allowed to buy houses anymore. So right now, it's about 1.5 months of inventory, which is about 45 days. And when we look at this over history, anything less than 3 months or 90 days is considered a seller's market. Anything from like 3 to 6 months is considered a balanced market, and anything over 6 months is a buyer's market. We are heavily into the seller's market now. Heavy, heavy, heavy. We have been for over a year. Very heavy in the seller's market. And that lack of inventory is scary. When we then add on the fact now that it's the holidays and the winter, it gets even worse artificially just because people say, I'm going to wait until the new year. I'm going to wait until after the holidays. And we allow them to do so. So what does that do? That creates low inventory, which means there's less competition. And for some people, they would think that that's good. But the truth is, for sellers, it's fantastic. For buyers, it's horrible. But it's also where sellers get it wrong the most because they join in on the, oh, I'm going to wait until the new year. And here's what happens. Right now, in most neighborhoods, there's one or none or 1 or 0 homes available in a certain neighborhood. And when you go on the market as home 1 available or home 2, and that's it, you are naturally going to get the highest prices. It's basic economics, right? Low supply, high demand equals higher prices. It's economics 101. The sellers that wait very often find themselves 1 of 5 or 10 homes on the market that a buyer might be competing for if they wait till New Year. So naturally, the buyers have a little bit more of a selection. And even in this crazy market, you're starting to see pockets where they have a selection. And as soon as they have a selection, all of a sudden the appraisal matters, the inspection matters, the time on the market matters, the list price matters. Where when you're the only one on the market in the neighborhood, only one on the market during the holidays, none of that matters because they want the house. If they want to live there, they need to get in the game and they need to buy something. So we need to look at this, number one, and help explain to sellers why now is the most wonderful time of the year to sell because of inventory. And it's been that way all year, but we need to focus on it now. So take the data that the MLS gives you. If you've never heard of Trend Graphics, it's a program that I use. It's one of my favorite data programs personally. I don't even know what it costs anymore. I've had it for over 10 years, but it's fantastic for telling the story with this. If you're not liking the MLS data, if you don't like doing it in the MLS. So make sure you're telling the story. Make sure you're telling your sellers about inventory and really explaining it to them, not just saying what everybody else is. Inventory is low, there's not a lot for sale. Explain it to them how it helps put more money in their pocket, and that's going to help. Number 2, the formula for the market and affordability kind of ratio and balance may be better for sellers than ever before. And it also might be the best it is ever going to be. If you know anything about real estate cycles through history, the average real estate cycle lasts between 13 and 15 years. And if you look at the previous peak of 2006 and you add 13 or 15 to that, we are somewhere between 2019 and 2021. Now, granted, we've had a pandemic and all this other fun stuff going on the last couple of years, so who knows how that plays out. But the reality is the math, the history says we are at the top of the top. And all signs are pointing to 2022 still being a small growth year, not as crazy as it's been the last couple of years, but still a growth year. So we might be okay. But right now, you need to understand that the balance of how the market is and how affordability is right now is the best it's ever been. And to do that, you need to not just tell the story, you need to be able to understand it and you need to be able to explain it. And that's what I want to help you do here for a second. Let's talk about high prices. First of all, if you watch the news, if you're in real estate, if you own a house or in a house, you understand prices are high, right? The last 2 years, especially, but the last like 6 months in general, I mean, prices are out of control. In my opinion, everything is overpriced right now. It is what it is. But people are paying it and driving it up. And the prices are real. They're not like they were in 2006 where these things were artificially inflated due to fake financing. This is real. People are paying cash. People are getting appraisals and they're working out, right? This is real. The prices are high. Then we look at the rents and we realize how high rents are. Guess what, guys? If landlords are buying things when prices are high, obviously rents are going to be high. And then I also need you to look back at what's happened over the last 2 years and understand landlords have taken a beating. And I'll be honest, I'm one of them. We've spent the last 2 years either not getting paid or getting gamed or beat by the system, and we're over it. So we've all kind of came together as landlords and said, you know what? We're selecting better tenants. We're writing stronger leases. We're taking more money up front. And we're going to charge more for the rent. We're going to make up for the last 2 years of beating that we've taken. And guess what? If the person we have now doesn't like it, there's 500 more in line. And there's 1,000 people that move to the state every day. I don't care. I know I'll do better tomorrow than I'm doing today. So we're going to drive the rent up. Then we look at rates, right? And rates have been flirting with that line of historically low, all-time low, lowest of the month, lowest of the week, lowest of the year over the last year. They've been at the bottom or very close to it or tickling that bottom for a while. That is not happening anymore. If you haven't been paying attention the last couple of weeks, the Fed already said they're raising the rate before the end of the year. And before the end of next year, there's going to be between 2 and 4 rate hikes. Now, this one has already kind of been built in because the lenders knew it was coming. So they're kind of building it in and working it out where it's not going to be as dramatic as everyone thinks right at the end of the year. But we're already seeing rates increase. And when you look at all of our closings for all of our title companies across the state, the average rate that we're closing deals at is over the last rolling 12 months was 3.09%. Okay, 3.09%. Now that balances out everything. That's refi and purchase money. That's jumbo and FHA, conventional and VA. It's everything, right? So rates are insanely low. The Fed just said a couple of days ago that they want their average rate by the end of next year to be 4.0. So that's 91 basis points, 0.9%, almost a full point higher than what it is right now. And when we look at that, if that doesn't scare you, and if you can't have that conversation with your sellers, you need to pick another field because 1 point may not sound like a lot, or 0.91, right, might not sound like a lot. And I understand that, but you have to think in terms of real affordability. And I need you to understand what that means, right? So let's say you have a client that's looking at a house for $350 right now. If that rate goes up 1 point, best case scenario, all they can afford is $325, but you've already showed them $350. And the fact is, if we wait a year, that $350 house is now $375. So now their gap is 50 grand, right? What they wanted, they can't afford. What they can afford now, they don't want. And there's this nasty cycle that comes in the middle because you can't negotiate them a better deal because the market doesn't allow it. They can't afford more because financing doesn't allow it. So they're stuck and they never buy a house, or they buy something and they're unhappy, or you write 75 offers, they try to rip them all apart and they never get a deal, right? So it gets bad. Let's just say they're in good financial standing, which most people aren't, right? They buy a house and their DTI is like 0.1% off of getting a deal done. So let's just say they do. They have a little bit of room and they think they can make it work. So they want to buy a $350 house now. They wait a year instead, and then they buy a house for the same $350, which again, we can all agree on is going to be a worse house. But they buy the $350 house, their payment is $125, $150, $175, maybe $200 more just because they waited and they got a worse house. Right. So we need to look at the market and understand how long is this going to go on where prices are high, but affordability is high. This is not like 2006 where prices were high and affordability was fake. Right. This is real. Prices are high and affordability is high, and these things are meshing and balancing. And that's what's fueling the market. As soon as one of those things goes out of whack, the other one is going to get nasty and the market is going to get nasty. I don't think it's going to happen next year. Personally, I'm kind of banking on it not happening next year. But I think by 2023, we're going to start to see the problem. Next year, we're going to start to see the correction, right? Where these things are not so perfectly in line. People are buying expensive houses now because they can afford it, and they can afford it for real. It's not 2006 where they can afford it. This is real, right? They can actually afford it. People are coming down from the Northeast or from big money states with piles of cash and buying something. So the values are real. And underwriters are actually doing their job, and lenders are actually doing a good job in making sure people can afford stuff. But how long is this going to go on? We don't know. We're already seeing shady loans come back. We're seeing rates hike. We're seeing prices level. We're seeing inventory get a little bit closer. I really feel that if you're not explaining this to your sellers the way I just did now, I really think you're doing them a disservice. You have a fiduciary agreement when you sign a listing agreement or enter a relationship with a seller. And there's a lot of things that it says. And if you go back through real estate school and look up the fiduciary word, there's 17 pages of it, but I'm just going to give you 3 things. Here's what it means. It means if you're working with a seller, you agree to get them the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of stress. That essentially is your fiduciary agreement broken down. And if you're going to work with a buyer, it's least amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of stress, right? Your fiduciary responsibility to your seller as a licensed agent is not to make the market. It's to interpret the market and help them get the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of stress. And if you're not getting them to sell right now and helping get over the stupid, I'm going to wait till Christmas or New Year's or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or Festivus is over, if you're not doing that right now, you're missing out, period. It's not maybe, it's period. You are just missing out on these things. And I need you to skip that. Number three, the end of the year brings unique benefits. This is why it's the most wonderful time of the year to sell. Right? We already talked about inventory. We already talked about affordability. Also, because the end of the year brings some unique benefits. First of all, less volume equals less stress on the vendors. Right now, this time of the year, we know less deals are getting done, period. It's not because we're struggling or we don't want to. It's because less deals are getting done. If you look at us historically, the slowest months are always September and January, period. That's Florida, not just us. That's just what it is, right? It's the same. These are the months when there's the lowest amount of volume. September is because people start going back to school, August, September. And January is because people do what they're doing now, not working, right? As soon as the Halloween costumes come out, people stop working from Halloween until they recover from their New Year's Eve hangover. So naturally, that means January's closings are going to suffer. Now that's good. It's bad for us profit-wise, right? But it's good for you guys because if there's less stress on the vendors, that means the closings are going to be better, faster, more accurate, more efficient. And this is for every vendor. Right? I want you to think about mortgage lenders, and I'm not picking on them, but are some of them overwhelmed? They're missing loan commitments now? Yep. And it's not because they choose to, it's because they're busy. Think about inspectors. Anybody know an inspector that you can't book for more than 7 or 10 days out, but you have a conundrum here because you can't put an inspection period of more than 7 days on your contract to get it accepted? So the vendors are stressed. What about insurance people? What about movers? Everybody in the world's moving. So how hard is it for the movers to make things happen? Think about all the people that deal with the transaction right now. Ideally, over the next 45 days, they're going to have a little bit less volume, and that little bit less stress gives us better closing times. And we need to explain that to our sellers. There's always tax savings and benefits at the end of the year for sellers and buyers, right? Some people need to sell because of XYZ. Some people need to buy because of XYZ, and they need to squeeze it in the next 25 days. So there's opportunity there. And the other thing that's great about this time of the year, and opportunities pop up because more days off are taken from November 15th through January 2nd, every single year, period. Right? There are more days off taken between then and January 2nd than the rest of the year combined. And more days off mean people can house hunt in person. They can show up at closings in person. They could go meet their lender in person. They could clean, prep, stage the house in person. These are all good things for the real estate market. And these are all reasons why people need to sell. You're going to find people that want to house hunt on a Wednesday because they have corporate days off that they have to use. And if they don't use them, they lose them. So they take Wednesday off to spend with you to go hunt a house. That is great news for sellers. It's good stuff. And they need to know that. Number 4, the end of the year brings urgency, and urgency brings dollars. Anytime something is urgent, it costs more. Right? Think about anytime you pay to get something rushed delivered or done quicker, what does it cost? More. It's never less because it's quicker. It's always more, right? So think about this. Job changes and transfers bring relocation to the absolute peak. This is the time of year where everybody moves, changes jobs, gets a New Year's resolution, switches companies, whatever. They do it now, like from now until January 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever that first working day is in January, I think it's the 3rd. That's like the most popular start date for new things. People need to be moved in before then. And the buyers that are looking through the holidays, they're motivated, right? They're serious, they're committed. If you haven't moved recently, it stinks, right? Don't do it. No one does it by choice. No one says, man, I would really love to move this holiday season. Throw in a little bit of COVID, some presidential drama, and a couple of days off. Man, moving sounds fantastic. No one does that, right? Nobody wants to do that ever. And then you find out these people that need to move. If you've never worked, those relo buyers that need to be in town for one day and they have to buy a house because the next time they're coming here, it's for work and they don't want their kids to be homeless. Those are the best buyers you're going to work with because they're urgent, right? They're motivated. They're serious. They're committed. They took a day off to get this done. They need to get it done. And that's good because that means they're a high quality buyer. And guess what? High quality buyers bring high quality prices, less negotiations, better terms, quicker deadlines. Everything is better when you have those higher quality, higher motivated buyers. And the sellers that were letting them to say 10 words and not be on the market for these people, the sellers are missing out, and we cannot allow them to miss out on that. We need to get them on the market. Number 5, it's the most wonderful time of the year to sell the house because it is the most wonderful time of the year. What I want you to think and remember is this is the one like unique month where we like throw the rule book out and we do everything opposite, right? Usually when we go into a listing appointment, we tell them, take out the family pictures, declutter, throw all the junk in the garage, maybe stage it, clean it up a little bit, paint everything gray and white and everything neutral and blah, blah, blah. This is the time of the year where that playbook goes out the window. We have 30 days to take advantage of the whole home is where the hardest thing. The more decoration, the more family stuff, the more homey it feels. The more homey it feels turns a house into a home. And that's what buyers are buying, right? Buyers that are buying residential real estate are buying emotionally, and the homes are going to show better when they're decorated, period. And the neighborhoods are going to show better when they're decorated, because when you drive into that neighborhood at night and all the lights are going and there's music and the curb appeal is at an all-time high because everything's clean, everybody has decorations up, they're ready for their family to come over, they're ready for pictures and social media and all the other fun stuff that we do around the holidays. So curb appeal is top notch, right? And all these things bring out the best in photos and in videos and in marketing. We need to make every showing feel like it's that holiday party kind of feeling, because the buyers feel that. And sure, the sellers might not want to sell today. I get it. They don't want to deal with it. But guess what? If putting the Christmas cookies out and putting up the menorah and the Festivus pole brings us more money, we need to convince them to do that, because we have a duty to them to do that. We need to not let them talk us out of selling because they want to take 2 days off a year. It's okay. Number 6, the best time of the year to sell, because online searches are way up. If you ever know anything about online advertising or online marketing, the craziest time of the year is from like November, I think it's 15th or 16th, through January 2nd, because that is when more people are online than ever before. And more people being online means more real estate searches. More searches means more eyeballs. And we already said we know we're going to have less inventory. So the inventory that we get is going to have more eyeballs on it, which turns into more showings, which turns into more money, right? Think about what happens over the next 30 days. More people are home. More people are off of work. More people are bored. More people are dodging work. More people are dodging family. More people are skipping events or going to events they don't want to be at, so they sit their whole time on the phone or on the computer. More people are traveling, right? All these things happen, and all these things lead to more real estate searches, and more real estate searches are good. Think about how often someone goes somewhere for the holidays, loves it, and then decides they want to move there. It happens all the time. More searches for real estate is good. More people online is good for our business. Number 7, probably the most important one, the sellers are in control. It's the most wonderful time of the year to sell, because now more than ever, the sellers are in more control if you coach them correctly through doing this. And most people don't, right? We had this situation come up the other day, and I don't care what religion you are, I'm just telling you the story, okay? So we had a seller that actually walked into one of the offices that I was in and said, you know what, I listed with someone and I decided I don't want to sell anymore. Because I know what you realtors do. You show up at the house and you put that big blue lockbox on. And, you know, my biggest fear is that I'm going to be sitting around the Christmas tree on Christmas Day with my kids and my dogs, and someone that's Jewish is going to want to walk up to the door and just unlock the lockbox and walk into my house while I'm trying to celebrate Christmas. Now, I don't say that to be funny or offensive. That was something real that I watched happen. And I realized at that moment, oh my God, we are not telling the story good enough about how much the sellers are in control, because that person's fear was real. Right? They were being a little obnoxious, a little bit rude, and I could see that. But I also saw the fear of someone walking in their house on Christmas Day and, you know, interrupting their time with their family and their kids. And I don't agree with the way they explained it or how they said it. I really don't. But the truth is, I agree with the concept, because I wouldn't want to be sitting around the tree with my kids and have someone basically break into my house either. And it was at that moment where I thought, like, initially, truthfully, I just thought, man, this guy's an idiot. But then instantly I'm like, you know what? He just legitimately doesn't know. And he has a real fear, and he acted on it to protect his kids. And I can't hate the guy for that. So when I look at that, though, I take that back to the realtor not doing the right job and not explaining that. You need to help them understand that they can be flexible with showings. If that fear is real and they're worried about Christmas Eve, someone from another religion being off and coming to show their house, okay, guess what? Be flexible with the showings. Just say, look, I have family coming in on Christmas Eve, and then on actual Christmas Eve, I have family there. And then on Christmas Day, I'm doing stuff with my kids. And the day after, I'm cleaning up and taking off. I don't want anybody in. Great. I don't really blame them. So for those 4 days, we black out the showings. If Disney can have blackouts, I would say your sellers could have blackouts, right, guys? But are we going to allow a seller not to sell, make the most money they've ever made in their life because they don't want to work or they don't want to be showing their house 4 days of 31 in a month? No, it's stupid that we allow people to dictate their financial future based on 4 days in a year. It's ridiculous. And it comes down to us not doing a good enough job of explaining that to them. And I can't be mad at the people because they don't understand it. So think about it. Can they be flexible with the showings? If you're not using Showing Time or the MLS or all those apps where a showing request comes in and it texts the seller and says, Joe Smith wants to sell your house tomorrow, show your house tomorrow at 2. Do you accept or deny? And they just hit deny if they don't want to show. That's fine. We can black out days. We can black out times in the showing calendar. That's fine. We can say no showings after, no showings on, no showings during, right? If they don't want to show during Hanukkah, I don't blame them. Spend the time with your family. If they don't want to show on Festivus, I get it. It's a great holiday. Spend the time with your family. I understand. Think about the options that are there and how we can let the seller be in control. The other fear that everyone always says is, where would I go? Or I don't want to leave my house for Christmas. I don't want to leave my house for Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. I don't want to leave my kids. Got it. I understand. They can buy now and occupy later. We can do a lease back. We can do a rental. We can do a delayed closing. By the way, the buyer will be happy because they're stressed too. They have to sell a house and buy and move. They have holidays also, regardless of who they are, what they celebrate. They got the same issues. It's okay. But as realtors, are we doing a good enough job for the 10, 12, 15, 20 grand we're about to make to help people not be stressed through the most stressful time of the year, right? This time of the year is always stressful because of money and family. Then we add on 2 years of whatever has happened in the world. Then we add on moving, right? It's like all the stresses in the world compiled into one, and we just squeeze them all into 30 days. And then we expect the seller to just be peachy every day. No, we need to help them. We need to guide them through it. It is the most wonderful time of the year to sell the house, period. But for them, if they're not guided well, they don't know that. And we need to help them. And number 8, last one, before we summarize, and don't run away here because I want to drill home some of these points again. Number 8, it's the most wonderful time for the sellers to sell because you are willing to work. And if you're not, I need you to scratch this last one off, and I'm okay with that. But I need you to understand what's happened over the last couple of months. October, board dues started being due, and every board and every MLS is a little different. But people have started to be kicked out, right? People that are not working or that haven't paid the dues have been booted out of the MLSs. That's happening, right? So that's eliminated like a third of the workforce. Then we already said, part of the workforce disappears on Halloween. They put that costume on and they never come back to work, right? They disappear, and that's that until New Year's. Then Thanksgiving comes and it gets worse. Black Friday, it gets worse. Hanukkah, worse. Kwanzaa, worse. Christmas, worse. New Year's, worse, right? 50% of the workforce isn't even pretending to work. 25% of them are pretending to work, and 25% of them are actually working. If you're one of the people that is actually willing to work, this is a huge benefit to your seller because other people aren't. Right. And you need to take advantage of that. And no judgment, by the way. If you want to take this time off, recharge the batteries, get going, get fired up, spend time with your family, I don't blame you. That's the right move. I'm with you. Right. But those of us that want to work or are going to work, you need to take advantage of that and exploit that, because you have 1 month a year where you're going to work and you know other people aren't. So you need to tell the story better. And what I want you guys to think here as we wrap this up, right? I am passionate about this topic. I really think we make a mistake letting sellers off the hook now that maybe they hate us for now, but later down the road, they thank us. And what I want you to think is, if you're actually getting out there and you're working the next 25 days, right? There's 25 days left in the year. And I get there's holidays and I get it. Okay. But if you're going to be one of the people that's working, whether that's 5 days or all 25 days, I don't care. But if you're one of the people that's working, now is the time to go above and beyond and find and help these sellers now, because we might not have a better chance than this ever in our life. Like ever in the time that we're working, this might be the best chance we ever have. So if you're not doing the activities now, do the circle prospecting calls, do the door knocks around your open houses, hit everyone that's in your database tagged as listing lead, seller lead, possible seller. If you got that group, call them, right? Text them, email them, stop by. Have the tough conversations right now with the people that are in your database that you know need to sell. Right. And for some of us, it's our parents. And for me, it's my parents, by the way, which means I'm sure it's some of yours as well, or personal friends or siblings. When we all have people in our life or someone in our life that we know they should sell right now. And in our head, we tell them that, they say no. And in the back of our mind, we say, oh, they're an idiot. They should be selling. Have the tough conversation, help them, which in turn is going to help you, which, by the way, then we'll get the title. So it helps us. It's a win-win all the way around. But have these tough conversations. And when the sellers spit back to you the reasons that they don't want to sell, you need to have all 8 of these clips in the gun. You need to be able to come back and say, listen, it's the lowest supply ever. On top of winter inventory, it's the lowest supply chain ever in the history of real estate. That means prices are high. You need to sell. Number 2, the market and affordability balance is better now than it's ever been and better than it ever will be. If you miss selling now, we may never see this balance again in our lifetime. We'll see high prices again. We will see cheap rates again. Will we see them at the same time again? Personally, I don't think so. We might get close to this, but I don't think we'll ever see this perfect balance ever again. Number 3, the end of the year brings those unique benefits. So if you need to sell because of taxes, or they need to buy because of taxes or something like that, get it done and take advantage of the time to sell. Number 4, the urgency is there. Take advantage of those people. And this might sound bad, but if you're a seller, you need to take advantage of those buyers, and you can do that for the next 25 days. Take advantage of the people that are on a time crunch and charge them for it and cash out, get paid. You deserve it. You bought something when someone told you probably not to buy, built your equity. You deserve to get paid. Take advantage of the urgency. Number 5, take advantage of what you've done. If you've decorated for Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, all the other holidays, New Year's, whatever, take advantage of that. Market it. Make it look beautiful. Make that holiday party showing feeling. Set up one full day of showings. Load up your house with showings all day and get that thing sold in one day and make more money than you ever thought you were going to. Take advantage of the fact that more people are online and online searches are way up. Teach the sellers. Make sure they understand that they are still in control. And believe me, if Disney can black you out, you can black out one day to make a showing. Okay. If there are blackout days for TV and theme parks, we can black out one day as a seller. Okay. We can do it. And number 8, if you are willing to work, you need to take advantage of this, guys. And you need to tell the sellers that, right? That I'm one of the only agents that's willing to work. Take advantage of that. Tell the story and take advantage of that. And for real, if you're not willing to work, no judgment. I would rather take off too. I get it. I understand. If you want the replay, reach out to Cindy and Kent. I'll get it out to you in the next day or two. As always, thank you guys for your business. If we're already working with you, thank you. We've had a great year, which means you guys have had a great year. So thank you. We appreciate that. If there's something we can do to earn any extra business or steal your business from somewhere else, let us know. And believe me, we'll do it. Coming up next week, we're going to do the scripts you need before the end of the year. So I'm going to give you some scripts. Some of the stuff we'll go in deeper from what we did today to actually give a script. But next week, we're going to do a buyer script, a seller script, a database script, an expired script, a couple scripts that need to come out of your mouth before the end of the year if you want to really make sure you have a great next year. I definitely want to hit that next week. Terry, thank you as always for the slides. The retro vintage holiday slide theme is the bomb. I love these slides. They actually really make me happy. So great job. Until next time, if we are not already connected on social, my social media, my email, and all that stuff is on the right. If you are not in my private Facebook group yet, for whatever reason, take out your phone, open up the camera, point it at that QR code, and it will drive you right to the Facebook group, request access. And the next time I get on social media, I will accept you and I will get you in there. In the group, I share my Zoom schedule all the time, so you always know where I'm at, my in-person schedule. And we have some fun marketing teasers and some stuff coming up that we're going to add into that group for the new year. We did just break 800 members, so thank you all for that also, by the way. If anybody has any questions, I will stay and hang out to answer questions for a little bit. If not, I'm hoping to see every single one of you humans in person this week because I'm going to be all over your markets Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So hoping to see everybody in person, especially if this is the last time I catch you before the holidays. So hoping to see everybody soon. Thank you guys as always, and I will see you soon.